All right. Okay, everyone, you are in for a treat. I am here today with Kayla, who has been working so hard on her recovery journey and has a really remarkable story. It's another wonderful story of hope and inspiration and just the capacity of the body to really heal from very intense things. So, I'm so excited that Kayla agreed to share her recovery story today. Thanks, Kayla.
Yes, thank you.
So, if we could just get started, I would love it if you would tell people just a little bit about yourself and just a little brief overview of your health history up until you got really sick, just so people can kind of see where you were coming from.
Yeah. Um, so probably whenever I was a kid, I was a pretty normal, healthy kid that I feel like. Wasn't until I started to get to probably like teenage, whenever I started to get a couple health issues here and there that just kind of you start to think are normal. It's
Yeah.
normal things that start to happen when you're a teenager. And funny enough, looking back now, you're like, oh no, that wasn't normal.
Yeah.
Um, I started to get chronic urinary tract infections
Mhm.
and then just kind of went on antibiotics, listened to whatever the doctor said, really heavy, painful periods, really bad menstruating symptoms,
Mhm.
all normal, you think.
Yeah.
Then I get pregnant for the first time. I have a miscarriage, once again, thinking this just kind of, these things happen these days.
Right.
I go on to have two little boys, and trauma with those pregnancies as well.
Mhm.
Still all seemingly normal.
Yeah.
Um,
Like very difficult births, is that what you mean?
very,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
More symptoms start to occur after each one of those two.
Mhm.
I started to get food intolerances and I started gaining weight really bad and couldn't end up getting any of it off.
Mhm.
Started to have chronic headaches. UTIs got worse, got really bad kidney stones, and kept on feeling like my bladder was full 24/7.
Mm.
I started to have like what felt like shards coming out every single time I'd go to the bathroom.
Mhm.
Then I started to have gallbladder symptoms. So
Mm.
then I had to get my gallbladder removed because that's what they told me to do.
Yeah.
Um, then I started to get just more and more food allergies. I
Mhm.
started to get headaches. I started to feel like I was getting joints of a 90-year-old. I started to get such bad anxiety, and I still was thinking at this time that it just had to have been postpartum, being a parent. These things happen.
Right.
We were moving around a lot. So just thinking, once again, all of this stuff was fine.
Right. I'm
Then
stressed. This is just what
yeah,
happens after you
exactly.
have kids.
Just
Yeah.
stress,
Mhm.
having kids, normal life. I would go to the doctor and they would run labs. Everything seemed fine, but I didn't feel fine. And
Yeah.
it just started to get worse and worse and worse to where things that I had been eating basically my whole life, I couldn't eat anymore. I was
Mhm.
having irritable bowel syndrome type symptoms with everything. It got so bad to the point to where I was afraid to leave the house. I didn't want to go anywhere because I was afraid that I was going to have an accident or that I needed to go to the bathroom. There wouldn't be an opportunity to. And
Mhm.
it really messed with my mental health even worse than
Yeah.
what I was having. It really made things challenging with going out to places with my family.
Mhm.
Um, and I just kept going to the doctors and didn't wasn't getting answers.
Yeah.
So then I decided to go kind of more of a naturopathic route,
Mhm.
and I still just kept getting lab tests. No parasites. I thought maybe it's parasites, maybe it's this. They tell me it's not. So I knew that it was not okay. All of the symptoms that I was having.
Yeah.
I decided to start doing a little bit of investigating, and I found you, luckily.
Mm.
Um, and ever since then, everything has just improved so much, and I am so thankful.
Yeah. So Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for that summary. I mean,
Yeah.
this is so common where people like, even if they were a pretty healthy kid, like didn't have a lot of stuff,
Yeah,
it's like sometimes it's more after the hormonal shifts start, and it sounds like
yeah,
that's really what it was for you, is that like
for,
whatever your body had been managing, as a kid that was
yeah,
going on underneath, it's like when those big hormonal changes started and all the nutrients that are needed for adolescent development. Like at that
absolutely.
point, things really start shifting for you. And then pregnancy does certainly take a toll. I mean, having kids takes a toll, but if we're properly supported, right, we can have these really wonderful,
Absolutely.
healthy pregnancies and be fine afterwards. But that, it sounds like, really kind of set you up for just having all these different random health issues.
Oh, yeah.
And then, you know, if I remember correctly, then there were some pretty big triggering events more recently that like things were already not good, but then you had a couple things happen right in a row that really set yourself into
Yeah.
a more severe situation. Do you mind sharing kind of what those big triggering events were for
No,
you?
not at all. I started when I started to get more of those food intolerances. That's whenever I started to kind of like maybe I need to do kind of an elimination diet and
Hmm.
start some gut healing. You just do the random Google search and you're like, what's
Yeah.
gut healing? Let me
Yeah.
do that. And I was having really bad hives everywhere. I felt itchy. I got hot. Whenever I would eat, I remember like my whole lips would just get really, really red, and I felt like they started to get swollen, and your throat starts to get itchy, and you're like, oh my gosh, am I like straight up having like anaphylaxis here?
Yeah.
And I was.
Yeah.
I would get such bad acid reflux that I I literally stopped eating because
Hmm.
I'm afraid to eat anything because you're like I'm probably allergic to it at this point,
Yeah.
and it hurt so bad. Not
Hmm.
only like I had already had like the really bad stomach pain, the bloating, the gas,
Yeah.
the irritable bowel syndrome symptoms, the bladder pain, all of these things that you kind of like you get used to as horrible as they are.
Yeah.
Then you just get those really debilitating. And I remember being so exhausted, I couldn't even get out of bed.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally couldn't even get my phone to look something up because I had no energy left in me.
Hmm.
I literally thought I was dying. And one of those days I had really, really bad heart palpitations.
Mm.
And I had them here and there from just having like anxiety. And that's what I always told myself is that I was having panic attacks.
Yeah.
Um, and then it got so bad that I had to go to the hospital, which I had already had, trauma from going to
Yeah.
hospitals because it was just always gaslighting experience.
Yeah.
Um, and I ended up going and they were like, you're having really bad tachycardia, your heart rate's really high. We don't understand why you're having all of these multi-system like issues going on. It's got to be in your head. It's just got to be acid reflux. Here's
Wow.
some, omeprazole. Let's
Hmm.
call it a day. And I just knew that it wasn't. I knew that wasn't
Yeah.
it. I knew that that was not my path. Was to just go on a medication for the rest of my life and still
Yeah.
have all of my issues, which in turn would actually end up making all of my issues worse.
Right.
Um, but yeah, that's exactly. I started to get every single symptom and every single part of my body. I
Yeah.
mean, not being able to get out of bed, my anxiety, my depression,
Yeah.
acid reflux, the stomach pain, even my eyesight started to get worse. I
Wow.
had ringing in my ears, really weird symptoms. And
Yeah.
when I talked to you, I had been able to improve maybe like 5% with just things that I had been
Yeah.
doing, like dry brushing. I had done a little bit of castor oil packs,
Yeah.
which I was all doing wrong. You showed me the right way to end up doing a lot of that.
Yeah.
But I probably 5, maybe 10%, I started
Yeah.
to improve, but I was still having, by the time that I saw you, the incredibly painful acid reflux
Yeah.
and the all over body issues and
Yeah.
joint pain, inflammation.
Yep. Yeah. Now, and you had realized at that point that you had had mold exposure pretty significantly. Is that
Yes.
right? Do you consider
Yeah,
that kind of a major contributing factor?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as we ended up like moving away from that house, I noticed an improvement,
Hmm.
but then it was exacerbated because it was such a stressful event with moving and everything
Yeah.
that I think it was just like, oh, yeah, let's bring this out. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, why is this happening to me at that
Right.
time? I didn't understand. I was thinking of it as these bad, horrible things are happening to me
Yeah.
and my body's betraying me.
Yeah.
And I was so frustrated, which was making everything worse.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
definitely for sure that the mold and all of that, it triggered everything, but
Yeah. Yeah.
thankfully,
Well, and I think, mold, just like anything else you might encounter, like if you already have, probably nutrient deficiencies, like an imbalanced gut microbiome, congested detox pathways, like you had signs of all of these things for years and years already, and then you get exposed to this
yeah,
mold and it's just like the nail in the coffin, right? And that's when you get these systemic immune allergic responses that you started getting that were I mean, the other stuff you were having, like you said, it was really uncomfortable, but you were just kind of living, you were still managing, right? And now it's like,
yeah,
okay, I can't manage anymore. Yeah,
yes. Yeah, it got to that point. So I wanted to give up
yeah,
and, don't have any help. So then even more so, you're like, okay, maybe I should just throw it all in and just
yeah,
give up.
yeah,
And I ended up convincing myself that let's just check a little bit more. Let's check into some stuff because
yeah.
this can't be it.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that you found
Me too.
me and we started working together because, like you said, you
Me
did go
too.
see a naturopath, you did some testing, but
Yeah.
you didn't really get any of the answers that you really
No.
wanted. And when you came to me, there were so few foods that you were tolerating. So I
Yeah.
suggested something a little extreme, but you
Yep.
totally went for it. So, do you want to share a little bit about like what we started working on together and how things changed? Yeah.
Well, whenever I saw you, I was eating the most miserable diet on planet Earth. I was literally eating just chicken and rice with a little bit of carrots. I thought I was like super good with having
Yeah.
that one little vegetable in there.
Yeah.
Um, but it was every single day I had to make that fresh and was eating that. And I still felt disgusting after every single time I'd
So,
eat.
so
But I'm
hang
like,
on. I want to emphasize this to people because this is, and people get backed in this corner, right? I talk to people like this all the time who've gotten back in this corner. You were only not reacting to chicken, rice, and a little bit of carrots when you,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
yep,
So
that
it,
was
it it got very extreme for you. Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
Literally the only thing that I was eating breakfast, lunch, dinner,
Yeah.
snack, whatever you want to call it. And, it all had to be made fresh because I was having such histamine reactions to everything
Yeah.
due to the MCAS.
Hmm.
Um, but when I saw you and we really like broke things down and you're like, you're only eating this. This is the only thing you're not having a reaction to. And I'm like, yeah, carnivore.
Hmm.
And as soon as you said it, I was kind of like, oh, man, I knew you were gonna say it for some reason, but I did. I went with it, and it's funny because I've always been like, I even went through a short stunt where I was almost vegan. Like I was
Hmm.
very close to being vegan, like pescatarian, I guess you would call.
Hmm.
I've never been the biggest meat person.
Hmm.
Um, I've always been kind of, like a carby person. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh God, like anything but carnivore. Like, this is going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
I felt freaking amazing. Literally, I had some of the die off, like detoxing symptoms for sure.
Hmm.
But within the first week, I noticed an immediate improvement. Um, and it was not nearly as bad as anyone thinks that it's going to be. Because you're like, oh my God, literally meat for every meal.
Yeah.
Looking back now, especially compared to just chicken and rice and a little bit of carrot, the carnivore was a godsend.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the carnivore and digestive symptom wise, I thought since having my gallbladder out and I'm eating so much fat and so much meat and
Yeah.
everything, I thought there was a little part of me that was like, dude, this is gonna break me. There's no
Yeah.
way. Like I don't have a gallbladder.
Yeah.
It it straight up, it was healing.
Yeah.
And so it's still continuing to heal. It helped me immensely.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, what's amazing is it I mean, you did go through that initial die-off detox, you know,
Yeah,
everything like you said, but what that was able to do was it like cleared out your detox pathways so much that your liver was able to like totally take over your fat
yeah,
digestion. And like, yeah, I mean, it's not great to have had your gallbladder taken out, but what it
right.
shows is like the body can really be resilient. Like it can really
Very,
make up for things that have happened. And so for people who are scared to do this, who may have gallbladder issues or have had their gallbladder out, like it's still absolutely possible. You know, the body can really work around things. So I'm really glad
yeah,
you emphasized that. And can you share a little bit about like so it's been what like four months or something like that
yeah.
since you've been carnivore? Yeah.
So, mhm,
Do you want to share like what the improvements you've noticed are?
yeah. Well, first that acid reflux, that burning
Hmm.
like from the fiery pits of hell kind of burn is how
Yeah.
I would always explain it. I'm like, you guys don't understand. It's not just like you ate some one little greasy thing heartburn. It is the worst fiery heartburn ever. My
Yeah.
whole chest and everything was just lit on fire.
Yeah.
Within that first week, I didn't have hardly any. The only time that I ended up having a little bit of maybe heartburn, acid refluxy pain was when I got really, really hungry and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna eat like four hamburgers right now, you know? That was the only time as if I like kind of overdid it or I
Hmm.
ate a little too late. And then I just had to get more conscious and really
Hmm.
learn my routine with that
Yeah.
on what feels best for me and then trusting my intuition. Um, which working with you, like it's helped so much that you really like encourage that. Um, but the acid reflux improved immediately. My digestion, the really full feeling, gas and bloating, like I always felt like I looked pregnant.
Hmm.
That went down immediately. And I felt like when I started to do that too, like whenever I had previously been doing castor oil packs and dry brushing and breath work and stuff, definitely felt like it helped. But when I had started to do that, I felt like I could achieve that better. And like I felt
Mm.
like I could actually feel and see the results better.
Yeah.
Um, Whenever I would eat that way and then put a castor oil pack on,
Hmm.
I literally felt like I felt it actually moving through me, like
Yeah.
actually detoxing through me, which is an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
Um, my joint pain, that 90-year-old joint pain that I was experiencing at 31 years old, immediately improved.
Hmm.
I actually started to go out more into nature. My boys have like a outdoor nature school, so I would go out with them and that really, really helped as well.
Yeah.
Um, I went out and got good sunlight every day. Um, I actually felt like I had the energy to do these things.
Hmm.
And I didn't have those pins and needle tingly. My mood got better. Even like sensual, like, libido wise, I was
Yeah.
even like, oh, I can actually like do this now. Like
Yeah.
before, like wouldn't have even been in my mind. And I actually that started to come back and I'm like, oh my God, like I forgot to even be like that. Like I
Yeah.
forgot that I could do these things.
Yeah.
Jumping on the trampoline with my boys, I started to do that, which, ended up working out great for lymphatic drainage. But
Yeah.
they're like, come on, mom, you can actually jump on the trampoline with us now.
Wow.
We go for walks, and I don't feel like I'm going to pass out. Oh, the dizziness, like lots of those like POTS kind of symptoms.
Hmm.
Those were really, really bad when I first started coming to you. And I felt like every single time I would get up from laying down or sitting down, would get those like vertigo like
Hmm.
spells. And I felt like I was going to pass out. I haven't had one of those in 2 months.
Yeah.
Headaches and just the exhaustion and I all of it has really, really got better. If I do have like a day where I have a little bit of those symptoms, I just go right back into what did I miss on my routine?
Mm-hmm.
What are things that I know now that I can try to do? And
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, it ends up fixing it right up.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Oh, I'm so happy for you. And I just want to emphasize like the I think part of the reason, because you've seen remarkably fast improvement,
Yeah,
honestly, considering how reactive you were when I first met you.
absolutely.
But I think part of that is because you did take like the detox practices and like the lifestyle practices that you talk about, like castor oil and like the lymphatic drainage
Yeah.
stuff and like the sunlight exposure and being outside. You took that all super seriously and you've been so good
Yes.
about just like a really solid routine with that. But the initial diet change allowed you to actually feel like you had the capacity to like get that routine and have the energy and mindset to get that routine. And so it's amazing how it's all worked together for you.
It did. It was those puzzle pieces that seriously needed to be connected, which was one of the main reasons why I really wanted to work with you specifically was when you do even go to like a naturopathic doctor, which in my experience it didn't end up
Mhm.
working out. Nobody can tell you what do you eat. They can
Yeah.
tell you what to not eat,
Yeah.
but I'm already down to one thing that I can really eat. I didn't
Right.
need to know that. um and just how much that made a difference. I
Yeah.
mean, they told me a little bit like, yeah, do a castor oil pack, like that's fine, you can do an Epsom salt bath and these things, but the fact that, like I said, those puzzle pieces, like
Mhm.
the diet and this and that, and just the way that you break down like establishing a routine, and if you start to feel this symptom, try this,
Yeah.
and it worked.
Yeah.
So like you said, remarkably fast. I honestly, I'm like, dude, how how
Yeah.
how does this work? How did this work so quick?
Yeah. Yeah. And you were been able to add more variety of animal foods in very, very
Yeah,
quickly as well. Yeah. So it's not like you've been doing chicken for 4 months.
thank God.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I've been eating stuff that I honestly didn't even eat before.
Yeah.
Different cuts of meat that, like I said, I wasn't like the biggest meat person, but like the
Hmm.
oxtail and like the bone and shanks and lamb,
Hmm.
never really ate those. And now I'm like, never gonna live without these. These are
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. So yeah, now you know that your symptoms have stabilized so much. We're starting to introduce the meat stocks so we can really take you to that next level of gut healing, and eventually we probably will add some plant foods back into your diet, as we've really gotten your gut sealed and healed and all that, but we're in no rush. You're doing so well. So we've got a lot more, work down the road that we're gonna do, but I just wanted people to see like how remarkable you can have improvements,
Yeah,
quickly when you really do all the things and all the things line up. So,
yeah,
yeah.
I agree. It's very much a multifaceted like scheme of things,
Hmm.
and I think that that's something that can be kind of overwhelming at first, and especially when you're still in that mindset of like, why is this happening to me, and not understanding everything, that it seems so much more difficult than it actually is.
Yeah.
That the hardest part was getting to that point of
Yeah.
actually receiving the help and the knowledge of how to do this. It's it's flown, and it's gone so well going into these, and it doesn't feel like, some people might be like, oh my gosh, you're on carnivore for 4 months, like that seems like so long. It really doesn't,
Yeah.
because it feels good. It
Yeah.
feels good to actually feel like I'm not like dying anymore.
Yeah.
And I know that it's healing my body. And every day it just feels like more and more of an improvement. And before I knew it, I'm already to the point to where I am doing the stocks.
Yeah.
And once I started to do that, I noticed even more of an immediate improvement with that, especially with digestion.
Yeah.
Um, I can literally feel like it's sealing up my gut.
Yeah.
So if it's a time issue too, that I know sometimes it can get a little intimidating when people think of like how long it's going to take. But in
Yeah.
the grand scheme of things, looking back at how sick I was for so long and how damaged everything was, I'm already 4 months in and I'm at where I am now. So
Yeah.
it is not that long. It is well worth it.
Yeah. Amazing. Oh, what an inspiring I love like just the inspiring wrap-up speech. That's amazing. Are there any last things that you want to share? I mean, that was incredibly motivating, but just any other last things?
That's it. I just, you got to take the chance to actually to do this. You got
Yeah.
to get better and you got to find the right ways. And this has helped me, and this was my path.
Yeah.
It's led me to even thinking about a career in, holistic nutrition. And, I am a chef. It's got me to thinking about that,
Yeah.
that more, I am a healer in this way now that
Yeah.
I feel more capable of that. And I know more things now. And you look at so many people that you know and you love, and you're like, I know that they're dealing with those symptoms that I had way
Yeah.
back then. Now that I know these things, you want to just share it. And I am very thankful that you've been able to give me the tools and the resources to help myself,
Yeah.
but also the people that I know and love. I'm getting to share that knowledge with them as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that forward thinking, like, and just bringing your passions into it. I mean, we
Yeah.
need more more carnivore focused cuisine out there as
Yeah.
options for people,
Yeah.
because it's true. Like it's not really a mystery why this tends to work, right? Like it's
Yeah.
incredibly nutrient dense, like incredibly
Yeah.
nourishing foods that you've been able to focus your entire diet on, and it's shown, it's allowed you to make so much progress so quickly. So
Yeah.
that's so great how you're bringing it all full circle for yourself to then share with others. Yeah.
It led me to my healing journey and my future plans and path. So
Yeah.
I'm more than thankful and blessed.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm sure people are going to be so appreciative to hear, what kind of potential is there for them, even if they're currently extremely reactive and in an extremely restricted diet, like it may feel like you're backed in a corner, but there's always a way out. And Kayla, I feel like you're such a great example of that.
Thank you. Yeah, I totally agree.
All right. I'm going to stop the recording.